Welcome to Sweet Tea and Coffee. My name is Blake Russell, and this is interesting. I'm sitting across from a guy that he has a history here at this podcast. He's being real quiet right now.
It felt weird not to do the introduction.
Yeah. Well,
I wanted to ask the episode and then roll along.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. We've made a lot of changes since you've been gone.
I'm like halfway through and
yeah,
it's all different.
Yeah, so Kendall's here today.
Hey, friends.
He's here and he's not, I promise you, he's still on sabbatical. He's not technically working. He's just here to talk and let us know kind of what's been going on in his life. So here we go. That's right. Kendall's back in the house, and I have no idea what he's been up to. I mean, I know he talked about what he's been doing before he left, but the real question is like, what have you been doing with all this time that you have? Like, what do you do? What were you doing today? I mean, we're recording this at 2:00 in the afternoon. You've had an entire day.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Well, the Nacogdoches days are different, obviously, than the not Nacogdoches days. And I feel like the front half has been pretty heavy not Nacogdoches days. So we started out, as many of you know, we talked about it before, we started out and immediately Lindsay and I headed off to spend some time in Broken Bow. We'd never been there before, wanted to see if we could catch some of the leaves changing and heard it was really pretty and just had a really great time. It was kind of just get away, just the two of us and detox, be quiet. We just hiked and slept in and rested, just kind of total disconnect. And that was great. We had a great time doing that. We were there for, I guess, 4 days, 3 or 4 days. And then came back and we were here for a little bit. And there were some Nacogdoches days in there. We were here for a little bit. And then I pretty quickly headed off on a Solitude retreat, which was 4 days. And then my family met me where we were. And then the larger part of family met me where we were for Thanksgiving and that sort of thing. And then we've just gotten back from Thanksgiving. And today is our first kind of normal weekday Nacogdoches day again. So on days like today, get up early. That's been interesting. I don't know.
I mean, you're still in a house full of kids and all that. So
Shiloh is like clockwork, man. Yeah. He is, from as far back as I can remember, he is up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
No questions asked. 6 a.m. He's always up. So yeah, our kids are up early. And so we try to get up a little before them, spend time, Lindsay and I just spend time in prayer with the Lord. And then the kids come down or whatever. Sometimes they beat us. And that's been funny. I've been telling myself, okay, because normally when I'm in normal work mode, it's 5:45. Wake up at 5:45.
Right.
And I've been kind of going, okay, do I sleep in a little bit? Like, do I sleep in at 6 till 6:30?
Yeah,
you know,
wow.
I know it's really big, but I don't want to get out of the habit because I know that alarm is going to come on that Monday. I come back, it's 5:45, and I don't want to be so out of the habit.
You're gonna be dragging.
So I'm kind of just meeting. I want to be up by 6 anyway. And then it's been good, man. The mornings, you know, I think it's in Bonhoeffer's book where he talks about community life together. And he talks about beginnings and endings of days for people, for families, and people in community. That those are really important. How you begin the day and how you end the day. And it's been really cool to not begin the day in a hurry.
Yeah,
and I obviously not in a hurry. I try to spend time with the Lord every morning, but at the same time, like by the time kids are up and going, I'm pretty much headed out the door. And so it's been really neat to be present for the entirety of the morning when we're here, as the kids are waking up, as they're kind of doing their thing, and not be going somewhere. So that's been really cool, being part of beginnings. And then about 8:30, I head out and go work out and get done about 10, run any little errands in town, head back home. By that time, Lindsay started the kids in school, and I jump in and do school, and that's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm curious about how school's going with homeschool dad, teacher.
Yeah, so we homeschool, and it's been fun. I just love math, and so I've really enjoyed doing math with Shiloh. Now, there's going to be a point where he's going to leave me behind.
Oh yeah.
And I even now, maybe I should admit this on the podcast, but even now there's some things I'm like, okay, I got to like order of operations and I got to look that. You remember that? Like, yeah, it was today.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I was too busy looking at the back of the book for the answers to help me figure out what I was doing.
So that has been really fun. I've been able to do some stuff with Elizabeth. She's starting to really, really churn out some reading, and so reading with her and storytelling, and then just doing school has been cool. I don't normally get to be part of that, so that's been good. And that's kind of the Nacogdoches days. We do school up through the afternoon. We typically, if we're here, we really try to be outside as much as possible.
Yeah.
These pretty days, we've had some good days, so we play outside, do some soccer, basketball. Kids are playing basketball, and then eat and go to bed. So that's kind of the Nacogdoches days, and it's been good.
So one of the major parts of your sabbatical thus far has probably been, I'm just taking a guess, it's probably been the Solitude section there. And when people ask me what you're doing, like when you were on that time period, I'll try to explain it to them. And that's usually when they kind of give me the funny looks of like, so he's by himself with nothing for 4 days. Like, give us a little insight of what that was like, kind of what your normal routines look like in those moments, and anything that was just groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking. That's an interesting word. So it was a challenge kind of, this would be the longest. I've done Solitude retreats before, but I'd never gone this long. So normally they're like over a weekend and they're day and a half, 2 days.
Right.
And honestly, that's great. And I think that's a good routine to have. But this one was 4 days, and you kind of, the very beginning actually is typically more enjoyable. Well, for me, so this was my experience. This is one time I've done this.
Right.
The very beginning is very much like what I've done before. It's enjoyable because you have broken from your normal.
Yeah.
The chaos, the busyness, the noise, and you kind of are relieved from stepping away, and it's like, okay, there's less of everything that there normally was. And so there's this relief, right? But that doesn't last long. And I've never really been away long enough for that
to
relief,
get to that threshold,
to go away and then to kind of feel myself want the noise again.
Yeah.
And this time I was away long enough where that happened. I mean, I noticed that. So right after day 2, I guess it had been about 2 days, the back half, the last 2 days, man, it was tough. I mean, it was tough. It was quiet. So I didn't try to make a ton of rules. I wasn't going to watch any TV. I only wanted to read. I wanted to rest, which was just basically like not be in a hurry, kind of sleep in a little bit. I don't sleep in super late. I like mornings. Spend time in the Word, pray, and do some work that was that was like manual labor, just work with my hands. It's kind of mindless, just sort of thing that I think.
So you were at
really
the ranch, right?
Yeah. I was at my mom and dad's place, and so that was great. And that was kind of those were the rules, I guess you would say. I wasn't on the phone. I wouldn't. I would check in with family, but what was trying not to have, basically just limit the noise.
Right.
I'm kind of rambling here. Sorry. But, those were the rules. And so after 2 days, like that was great. But after 2 days, it was like, man, okay, Lord, I'm ready for the profound thing now.
Yeah.
Like I think you used the word groundbreaking. And so here's the takeaway from Solitude is, I think, my expectation, and I think we do this all the time, where when we set aside time with the Lord that is different than our normal, we expect something earth-shattering. Mm-hmm. And I think that really is a good description of kind of the way we think God works as a whole. Yeah. Is that we just go, okay, God, I'm ready for you to say that. I'm ready for you to give that direction. I'm ready for you to say that thing. And we think about God as more like a vending machine. Mm-hmm. We deposit the coin, we deposit the time, and then God churns out whatever he's supposed to churn out. And so I caught myself kind of thinking, okay, where is it? Groundbreaking thing? What's the next thing we're going to do as a church? Or, what truth in Scripture are you going to share with me? And it didn't happen. I mean, it's like there's no groundbreaking. I'm sorry, there's no groundbreaking thing to report. It didn't happen. And as I wrestle with that, I kind of went, okay, this is a good point to kind of remember and recalibrate what real apprenticeship, what following Jesus and what learning from him is really supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to look like this steadfast and continuous commitment, showing up and being in his presence. It's not supposed to look like being in a hurry. He's not supposed to look like a vending machine. He's supposed to be our friend and our teacher. And we're supposed to learn at a pace that he sets for us. We don't learn on our agenda.
Right.
And honestly, it was a reset. By the end, it was just a reminder.
Right. Yeah.
To say, okay, this is how God works, and I need to relax in that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't relaxed in that. I was, okay, let's spit it out, snap, here, I'm going to ask you this question, spit it out. Here we go. And God just doesn't work that way. So
I think that in itself is the groundbreaking revelation. Part of it is the first half you're saying is like how much we are so accustomed to the noise. And then the second half of like, okay, just because I come to the table and say, here, where's my answer, doesn't mean that God's going to give it to you right there in that moment. Yeah. I think the burning question that I have is when you did turn the noise back on, what was like, let's just say, you're at the ranch and you're like, okay, Solitude over, family's here. Would you like turn the TV on and like, watch the Cowboys lose or something like that?
Well, for sure did that. But no, honestly, I was this was the other thing. And I'm glad you said that because this was the other thing that was really cool. So I broke Solitude by just Lindsay and the kids coming out. They came out a few days before the rest of my family did. And so I broke Solitude with that. So their arrival.
That in itself.
Oh my gosh. Like I woke up that morning.
You're excited.
I was so pumped that they were coming. And their arrival was just this euphoric. I was so pumped to see them. I was glad to not be alone anymore. And I was so glad to see them. And it was cool because it was this moment of like, you cherish those super special, important people. Those relationships are to be cherished. And again, like back to that book I read several years ago, one of the things Bonhoeffer talks about in Life Together is that Christian community is something that is to be highly valued and cherished. And that there are believers on planet Earth, we may not think about that, but that are alone. Yeah. And that live in some isolation of their choosing. And when we have brothers and sisters around us, when we have community, that we should cherish it. Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of a moment where I got to say, oh God, thank you for this amazing family that you have blessed me with, and just a cherishing of those real rich and important relationships.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's my question. My question was kind of like coming out of silence, what is that reintroduction to the noise, and I don't know if it's noise, but like the things where you're just not by yourself all the time. I think that's really interesting to kind of see that progression. It's not like you just all of a sudden flip over your computer and your phone and like, try to immerse yourself back into the things that were making everything so noisy to begin with. So.
Yeah, I think you question those things a little bit. I think you question old sources of noise. And you kind of go in terms of reentry, which is why I think that it's really good for us to do this on a seasonal basis. Right. I try to do Solitude once a year, period. I mean, just once a year, I'm going to spend more than 24 hours in Solitude. And I think what it helps you do is kind of reset. And when you come back in, you look at the different sources of noise, the routines, because noise is added in through routine. Mm-hmm. And as you come back in, it's like, okay, do I really want that here? Yeah. Does that really need to be here? Whereas before, because it's routine, you're not really questioning it. You shut all that down. And then as you come back, you're going, okay, does that scan of that news site need to exist in my routine anymore?
Right.
Does that check of that social media need to exist anymore? Does that show or podcast, whatever, whatever noise is for you, it gives you a moment to kind of question it and reset a little bit. And so you just get more wary of what noise am I letting in, which is good. I think we need to do that.
I think that's a good practice no matter what.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make this podcast too terribly long because I don't want to just overwhelm you on your sabbatical. You're in this state of rest, that I don't want to. But I have been getting.
People are thinking, what is this state of rest? I'm in a cocoon.
Yeah, he did a bunch of yoga before we got started.
Yeah, I did.
But I have been asked lots of questions about you in your absence, and the number one question that I get is, how long is he going to let his beard grow?
It's still going.
Because right now I'm across the table from a guy that looks like Tom Hanks in Castaway right now.
No, that's not true.
He came in with a volleyball.
It's cleaner than that. I'm not wearing.
But that's the big question,
rags.
and I feel like you've answered this question before. This is a typical routine and pattern for you, right?
Yeah.
Like to grow. Yeah.
It started a couple years ago. Here it is. Just we can settle all of this. Here is thus far the pattern until I change it.
Yeah.
Whatever that's going to be. I have 6 months on, 6 months off.
Yeah.
Period. So in March, I'll cut the beard.
Yeah.
Because it gets hot in East Texas.
Yeah.
And I don't like. That's what I've been saying to people. But it has nothing to do with sabbatical.
I just want to. Well, and I think that it's going to be probably a little more shocking to people that haven't seen you in 10 weeks in January. And you will look like Castaway, I guess, probably.
Well,
here's the thing: is I was curious. I got asked this multiple times. So this last week, I actually went through every sermon video from the last year, every week, and I could see the progression.
Oh no, you have too much time on your hands. What are you doing?
Well, I was doing it for other reasons, but I thought when I started, I was like, okay, I can track Kendall's beard growth in reverse. And see in the summertime, in those 6 months, you keep it.
I keep it short.
Maintained.
I don't like a big beard.
But I did go back to March, and it was. Yeah. I think we actually talked about this in staff meeting this morning, but it was very.
Oh my goodness, there's way too much.
Or maybe it was at lunch, but it was very theologian looking back in last March. So I'm excited to see. You get a little more gray every year, and so it'll be.
Man, there's some guys that have the 365 beard, and I just haven't been able to do it. By March, I'm so ready. Because if you live around here, it's by March, you can have some warmer days.
Yeah,
and I am so ready to lose it by that point. Well, that'll help get everybody so that's
through.
The number one. I don't know. That makes me a little nervous about what else going on.
That has been asked a couple times.
The number one question while I've been away is how long is my beard?
So what's next? You're a little bit. I guess a little more than halfway through, or
about halfway. So this Friday. Well, I don't know. By the time this comes out, I guess
it'll still be. This comes out tomorrow. So
okay.
we're on it. Yeah.
Okay, so this Friday, I'll get up early and leave for Arkansas, and I'm going to go spend some time with a guy named Larry Grayson, who's a worship pastor in Arkansas. And this is the guy that really invested in me in high school. And so a couple of other guys that were in that group that I'm still good friends with. One, this is so cool. One is traveling from St. Louis.
Wow.
And one is traveling from Dallas. And then I'm coming from Nacogdoches, and we're all going to go to just outside of, it's just west, just a little southwest of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
And spend a couple of days just seeing him, and we're going to record a podcast there. I'm going to try. Blake's not going to be there to help me with the technology. But
a podcast may or may not release.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll see how it turns out.
We're going to just reflect on that time. You guys, I'm so excited. You guys are going to get to hear from him. He is just the most wonderful man, and so I'm excited you guys get to hear him, get to know him a little bit, which will be cool. So that's this coming week. So that's this Friday. And and then it's kind of on to, there's a couple weeks, I guess, here at home. But then it's on to Christmas stuff. And
I think the time's about to fly by.
It's about to move.
Yeah.
So, and then before that, man, once Christmas hits, blink and I'll be back.
Yeah.
So I do want people to know just this is, I couldn't figure out how to say this at the, my first sermon back or now, but I'll just give you,
I mean, you can say it both.
I'm watching these sermons.
Yeah.
And there's been a few pastors who've stood up and made some comments about sermon time, most notably our distinguished youth pastor, Nathan Dutton.
Yeah.
And there is tape, friends. There is tape of all of you who applauded an amen when he said he was going to get us out on time, which is something that I was unable to do. And I'm going to find every single one of you.
I will say the crowd's been extra lively during the sermons the last few weeks. So
I saw the tape and I went, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to find them."
And I mentioned this when I preached. He literally came up to me like 5 minutes before the service starts and said, "Hey man, I hit 26 minutes. So what are you going to do?"
All this sermon time discussion is going to have to stop. This is just ridiculous. But I mean, that's been cool just seeing you guys do your thing.
Well, it's been really neat to see how that has come together and how things keep rolling out.
How did you like preaching? You're like a few days out.
I really enjoyed it. I really
did a great job.
It was a lot of fun.
You've set it up. We did a little family home church, and you set it up as like this big mountain that you were going to climb, this big daunting thing, and then you did it, and it was like, man, that was excellent. You did a great job. You just seemed so comfortable and great. I don't know. Well,
I've said this a few times. I decided that I was just going to be myself. It would be weird if I got up there and tried to be anybody else. So I was like, okay, well, how would I do this?
Yeah.
I like to tell stories. I like to tell jokes. I like to be personable and a little bit sarcastic. And so
all that was in there.
And that's where I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So it was a lot of fun to share. So anyway,
it was good.
My dad liked it, so that was good.
There you go.
Yeah. He said I should be preaching more often, so we'll see about that.
Noted.
I said,
Roger, noted.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, I think that's a good place to go ahead and call it. I don't want to wear you out. You'll probably have to go and take a nap now. But anyway, thanks for taking a little bit of time off your sabbatical and coming in. And
it was so good to walk back in the building and see everybody.
I heard you jumped in the office.
I did. I went in the office and wanted to just hug everybody and say hey. And
well, I said at staff meeting this morning, I said, hey, just by the way, Kendall's going to be here.
So everybody,
you see him lurking in the shadows. I said, so everybody look busy. So they said they're going to be like in the welcome center acting like they're cleaning and things like that. But anyway.
Well, it was so good to see everybody. And I miss my Fredonia Hill family. So ready to be back.
We'll be through it before you know it. So anyway. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
Adios.